Before that day, Kerem Bürsin was just another ambitious face in the relentless machinery of global entertainment, a man carrying the weight of unfulfilled potential, cultural displacement, and the quiet struggle of an artist searching for a stage that could truly contain his intensity. Long before millions across Latin America, Spain, and the Middle East would freeze their screens at the mere crook of his smile or the brooding flicker of his gaze, his life was defined by a constant state of transition. Born in Istanbul, shaped by the sprawling asphalt of Texas, Boston, and Los Angeles, Kerem wasn't molded by a single culture, he was forged in the friction between them. He grew up learning how to adapt, how to reinvent himself in rooms where he didn't quite belong, and how to mask the fierce, burning ambition of a storyteller behind a polite, Americanized exterior. To understand the man who would eventually paralyze global fandoms as Serkan Bolat, you have to look closely at the years of absolute obscurity, rejection, and grinding perseverance that preceded that fateful casting call. In Hollywood, he wasn't the star, he was the ghost in the audition rooms, battling the rigid stereotypes cast upon foreign actors, taking odd jobs, cleaning bathrooms, working as a personal driver, and guarding doors just to pay rent while holding on to a fragile dream. Every rejection wasn't just a closed door, it was a brick added to an internal wall of resilience. He understood what it meant to be invisible in a city built on illusions. Yet, beneath that easygoing, fitness-focused persona lay an obsessive work ethic, a relentless demand for perfection that would later become both his greatest professional asset and his heaviest psychological burden. When he finally packed his bags and stepped away from the glittering, hollow promise of Los Angeles to return to Turkey, he was walking into an entirely different kind of battlefield. The Turkish television industry, the Dizi sector, was a behemoth operating at a breakneck, punishing pace. It wasn't just about acting, it was about endurance, emotional heavy lifting, and an uncanny ability to connect with an audience through pure, unadulterated micro-expressions. For Kerem, the transition wasn't seamless. He spoke Turkish with a subtle, distinct cadence, his body language was shaped by Western training, and the local industry didn't quite know what to do with an actor who radiated such raw, uninhibited physical presence paired with a deeply introspective mind. He took on roles that tested his limits, characters that required him to fight, bleed, and sweat on screen, building a loyal foundational fanbase brick by brick. But television is a fickle beast. You can work for years, deliver powerful performances, and still remain a secondary footnote in the grand hierarchy of stardom. The industry was waiting for a convergence, a precise alignment of script, co-star chemistry, and cultural timing that could shatter borders. And that convergence had a name, though nobody, least of all Kerem, could predict the absolute tidal wave it was about to unleash. The journey from those early, uncertain days of transition into the upper echelons of international stardom was paved with a distinct psychological transformation, one that required Kerem to strip away the protective armor he had spent years building in Western acting workshops and replace it with the vulnerable, unvarnished emotional transparency demanded by primetime dramatic storytelling. When he took on formative roles that tested his physical and emotional limits, he wasn't just playing a character, he was learning how to channel his own internal conflicts, his frustrations with displacement, and his fierce, unyielding drive into every single frame. He understood early on that in the world of serialized television, subtlety is often swallowed by the sheer scale of the production, yet true magnetism lives in the quiet spaces between spoken lines. While other actors relied heavily on theatrical delivery, Kerem mastered the art of listening, of letting his eyes convey a storm of conflicting impulses while his exterior remained terrifyingly composed. This ability to project both absolute control and underlying vulnerability became his signature trademark, a dualism that would later hypnotize audiences worldwide. Yet, this level of intense concentration exacts a heavy toll on the psyche. The grueling 16-hour workdays on Turkish sets are notoriously unforgiving, demanding that an actor transition from deep emotional trauma to effortless romantic charm within minutes, all under the blazing sun or the harsh glare of studio lights. Behind the charismatic smiles and the meticulously sculpted physique required for action and romance alike lay a man who treated his craft with monastic discipline. He approached his physical training not merely as a vanity project, but as a therapeutic anchor, a way to ground himself amid the chaotic whirlwind of sudden fame and relentless public scrutiny. Every drop of sweat in the gym was a manifestation of his desire to remain in control of his own narrative, to prove to himself that no matter how loud the external noise became, his internal core remained unshakable. This relentless self-discipline, however, often bordered on self-flagellation, as he pushed his body and mind to the brink of exhaustion to deliver performances that felt authentic, visceral, and entirely devoid of artifice. As the years pressed forward, his career entered a fascinating phase of maturation, moving away from standard action hero archetypes and navigating the complex nuances of dramatic storytelling. He sought out projects that challenged societal norms and explored the darker, more complex facets of human relationships, refusing to be pigeonholed as just another pretty face in a sea of romantic leads. This artistic restlessness kept him on a perpetual edge, constantly seeking growth, refusing to rest on the laurels of past successes, and viewing every completed project not as a triumph, but as a stepping stone toward a higher standard of creative execution. His time spent collaborating with diverse directors and writers taught him that acting is fundamentally an act of profound empathy, an ability to inhabit the psychological landscape of a character without judgment, even when that character embodies traits that are deeply flawed, guarded, or abrasive. This philosophical approach to his work laid the groundwork for the monumental shift that would occur when he stepped onto the set of a romantic comedy that was destined to rewrite the rules of international television engagement. When the cultural phenomenon known as Sen Çal Kapımı finally materialized, it arrived with a magnetic force that caught even its creators completely off guard, instantly thrusting Kerem into an unprecedented level of global adoration. Playing Serkan Bolat, a man defined by rigid perfectionism, emotional unavailability, and a fortress of psychological defenses, was not a stretch for an actor who understood the heavy armor of ambition and discipline. Yet, what made his portrayal a masterclass in modern romantic television was his willingness to let that fortress crumble piece by piece, exposing the terrified, deeply feeling human being hiding underneath. The chemistry he forged with his co-star wasn't merely a product of clever scripting or fortunate casting. It was an explosive collision of two distinct artistic energies that created a gravitational pull no viewer could resist. Across continents, from the bustling streets of Madrid and Buenos Aires to living rooms in Santiago and Mexico City, millions of fans found themselves utterly paralyzed by the intensity of their dynamic. It was a masterclass in slow-burn tension, where a lingering glance, a sudden tightening of the jaw, or a reluctant smile communicated more volume than 1,000 spoken words. Kerem's ability to infuse a classic archetype with such raw, palpable vulnerability transformed a standard romantic lead into a cultural touchstone, proving that true charisma stems not from perfection, but from the willingness to bleed emotionally in front of an audience. Yet, navigating this sudden, cataclysmic wave of global fame brought its own unique set of psychological challenges, forcing Kerem to re-evaluate his relationship with the public eye, privacy, and the transient nature of modern celebrity culture. While thousands of fans dissected his every move, celebrated his milestones, and turned his personal life into a permanent global headline, he remained remarkably grounded, viewing the frenzy through the lens of a storyteller who understood that the character belongs to the audience, but the soul belongs to the creator. Instead of letting the intoxicating applause distort his reality, he channeled the overwhelming energy into humanitarian efforts, environmental advocacy, and a continuous push for better working conditions within the industry, recognizing that a platform of this magnitude carries a profound responsibility. He began using his voice not just to promote projects, but to champion mental health awareness, gender equality, and the importance of authenticity in a digital age obsessed with curated perfection. This evolution from an ambitious young actor striving for acceptance in foreign audition rooms into a mature, socially conscious global icon is a testament to his resilience. He stands today not just as the face of an unforgettable television era, but as a man who survived the fires of uncertainty, embraced the friction of cultural duality, and emerged with his artistic integrity entirely intact, proving that before that fateful day of global stardom, every single struggle, rejection, and silent sacrifice was simply the necessary crucible that forged an enduring legacy.